Hi, fifth graders. Let's get started on part one of creating your candy store project. So every single one of you should have received this at school. If you didn't receive this, there is a digital version. You must be using Kami. But your best bet is if you are able to print this out or use the one you got at school. If not, please make sure you are using Kami. So let's get started. This video is going to walk you through part one of creating your candy store. The first part of the packet is going to be this graph paper. I would rip it out or just leave it here if you are okay with flipping back and forth. I think ripping out is probably your best option though. The first thing we are going to do is build our candy store. So the driving question is, what mathematical skills are needed to plan and run a candy store? So this whole project is going to be about planning and figuring out how to run that candy store. Part one is all about the building or planning what your store is going to look like. The materials you will need are 1/4 graph paper. We gave that to you. That's this graph paper right here. You are going to need a ruler. You can kind of get away without a ruler if you have like a piece of paper to use as a straight edge. Pencils, you should all have a pencil. Ms. Sharp will be switching between pen, pencil, and marker. You should be using a pencil unless I tell you not to. Scissors, glue, that is optional, but we would like you to make this decorative and look nice. Yardstick or measuring tape. If you do not have a yardstick or measuring tape, you're going to have to do some research. Before we get started on step one, please remember that if you are a in-person student, you need to bring this into school tomorrow. DL students, you will be able to show us in school. Remember, you should be using the hard copy of this, or if you really need to, be using Kami. But everyone should be using a hard copy, either printed. If you can't print it out or you did get one in school, please use Kami. The first thing we are going to do is name our store. So right now, I want you to think about a name, pause the video, and then come back once you have your candy store name. This should be pretty quick to do. Miss Sharp named her candy store Sharp's Sugar Shack. Now once we have our name, now we need to get started with planning. So we're going to number the X or the bottom axis and the Y side axis on the graph paper. So let's watch Miss Sharp do this. Then you may pause the video and try it on your own. So here's our graph paper. Here's our X axis. Here's 0. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you're going to keep going all the way across. Then we're going to do the same thing up. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep going all the way up. Once you have finished that, you may unpause this video. All right, so it goes from to 28 on the x-axis and to 38 on the y-axis. Let's move on to step 3. Graph the following points. Connect them to create the walls of your candy store. So we're going to start to map out our candy store. So remember, it goes X, Y. Let's watch how to do the first one. So 2X, 2Y. Count over 2, up 2. There's going to be my first point. X 26, Y 2. So I'm going to go over on the x-axis, 26, and up 2 on the y-axis. Finish plotting the rest of these points, and then connect the walls. So you should have a rectangle. You may pause the video, come back when you are finished with that step. All right, so you should have used a ruler to connect the lines to look like this. Nice straight lines. Now you have your rectangle. Step 4, cut this rectangle out carefully. Carefully cut this rectangle out. So if you do not have scissors, we can do this in school tomorrow, but most households have scissors. Please cut this carefully out. You want to make sure you have all this room. Come back once you have done that. Now you have your candy store shop cut out. This is going to be your actual candy store. We are going to move on to like part 2 of step 1. So cut and paste your candy store onto construction paper under your candy store's name. Write the name of your candy store on top of the construction paper. Miss Sharp forgot to give you colored paper. Miss Leonhardt's class, you should have colored paper. Miss Sharp's class, I forgot to do this. So if you have colored paper or like any sort of cool paper at home, you can paste it or tape it or glue it or staple it right on to a colorful piece of paper. If you do not have this at home, this is the only step I will allow you to do when you get to school on Tuesday morning. Go do this step right here, and then come back and unpause the video. So now we have, it's starting to be a little decorated, little pretty, little different. So this is what it should look like. Your candy store in the middle, the name of your candy store at the top. Step 2, label the scale. 1 square equals 1 square foot on your graph, somewhere next to the graph on your construction paper. So this is like a scale on a map to tell us what one of these little boxes means. So one of these little boxes, or 1 square, so we're just going to label it somewhere on here as a key, if you remember back to maps. 1 square equals 1 foot squared. So put that somewhere on your construction paper. So that means that one of these little squares is 1 ruler by 1 ruler across. So like almost like 1 tile at school. Pause the video, unpause it once you're done. Step 3, label the measurements of the length and width of your floor. So what we need to do is we need to count the squares. Since 1 square equals 1 square foot, label accordingly. So we are going to count how many squares across there are, count how many squares up there are. And we need to label somewhere on the construction paper how long and wide our store is. Once you have counted your squares, you may unpause the video. All right, so we've counted our squares. We need to label. So since there are 24 squares across, it is going to be, we're going to label this side 24 square feet. Since there are 28 squares up, we're going to label this side 28 square feet. You can also label the top and the sides. So our store is 24 square feet by 28 square feet. Step 4, find the total area of your store using the formula length times width. Write it under your graph paper, so at the bottom of the construction paper. Now, if you don't have construction paper or colored paper or something else and you're waiting to do this at school on Tuesday, you still have to do these steps and write these steps on a separate piece of paper until you get the colored paper or the construction paper. You are not exempt from these steps. So what you are going to do is you need to do some math here. We need to do length times width. The length is 24. The width is 28, and there are no calculators allowed. We got to do some multiplication, standard algorithm multiplication, or whatever it may be. See if you can solve this. So pause the video. See if you can solve this on your own, and check your work towards me. So let's see. I'm going to do just standard algorithm. 8 times 4 is 32. Carry the 3. 8 times 2 is 16. 17, 18, 19. Carry a 0 because this is a 20, not a 2. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 2 is 4. Add it up. 2, 9 plus 8 is 7. 4, 5, 6. So we have 672. Did you get that answer right? 672 square feet. So our store is 672. So I'm going to write area equals 672 square feet. I'm going to label that on my construction paper. Okay, so number 4, checked off, ready to go. Now we got to get actually the planning part.